there is something I have never said out loud. Not because I was afraid of the truth, but because some truths are so powerful that once they are spoken, they change the person listening forever. Today is one of those moments. I want you to imagine standing in the middle of the loudest storm of your life. The wind is pulling you in every direction. The people you trusted have disappeared. The future is hidden behind thick clouds. Every dream you carried feels heavier than ever before. And then, without warning, one person enters your life. They don't stop the storm. They don't erase the pain. But somehow in their presence, your soul becomes quiet. Suddenly you realize something extraordinary. They didn't rescue your life. They reminded you who you were before fear convinced you that you were lost. That is when you understand the most valuable discovery any successful person will ever make. Success is not built only by strategy. Greatness is not created only by intelligence. Wealth is not sustained only by hard work. Every empire, every visionary, every leader who changed history eventually found one place where they could remove the armor they wore before the world. They found a safe place. And today, you became mine. People think strength means never needing anyone. That is one of the greatest lies ever sold to ambitious people. I have met billionaires who smiled in public while privately fighting battles that money could never solve. I have met leaders capable of inspiring millions while secretly questioning whether they were enough. I have watched entrepreneurs build companies worth fortunes, only to discover that the emptiness inside could not be purchased away. The world celebrates achievement, but it rarely talks about the invisible weight carried by those who refuse to quit. Every decision, every sacrifice, every lonely night, every expectation, every moment when everyone believed in you except the person staring back from the mirror. For years, I believed I had to become untouchable. I convinced myself that emotions were distractions, that vulnerability was expensive, that trust was dangerous. I built walls so high that even success struggled to reach me. From the outside, everything looked impressive. Every milestone became another headline. Every victory attracted more applause. Every challenge became another opportunity to prove that I was stronger than yesterday. But behind every achievement stood a silent question that refused to disappear. What is the value of reaching the top if you have nowhere safe to rest your soul? The world trains you to chase more income, more influence, more recognition, more followers, more status, more applause. It rarely teaches you to protect your peace while pursuing your purpose. And that is why so many people arrive at destinations they once dreamed about, only to discover they left themselves somewhere along the journey. Listen carefully, because this may be the sentence that changes everything for you. Your greatest investment will never be the stock you bought, the business you built, or the property you acquired. Your greatest investment is becoming the kind of person who can experience success without losing inner peace. Because if success costs your peace, you did not become wealthy. You simply exchanged one prison for another. That lesson came to me in a way I never expected. It happened during a season when everything around me appeared to be expanding. Opportunities multiplied, doors opened. People praised my discipline, my confidence, and my relentless ambition. They called me unstoppable. They admired the results. They envied the lifestyle. But no one saw the invisible exhaustion hiding behind every smile. They celebrated the destination without understanding the price of the journey. Every morning began with another mountain to climb. Every evening ended with another list of responsibilities waiting for tomorrow. I became addicted to movement, because stopping meant facing thoughts I had successfully outrun for years. Productivity became my disguise. Achievement became my shield. Winning became my identity. But identities built only on performance eventually begin to crack. Then something unexpected happened. You walked into my life without making promises. You did not arrive with dramatic speeches or impossible guarantees. You did not try to impress me with perfection. You simply showed up with something this world desperately lacks: presence. You listened without rushing to fix me. You believed without demanding proof. You stayed consistent when inconsistency had become normal. In a generation obsessed with appearances, you reminded me that authenticity still exists. In a culture addicted to noise, your silence spoke louder than endless conversations. While others admired my victories, you noticed the battles I never mentioned. While others celebrated what I had accomplished, you quietly protected the person becoming those accomplishments. That changed everything, because true safety is not found in buildings, bank accounts, or titles. True safety is found where your spirit no longer feels the need to pretend. Do you realize how rare that is? Most people spend their entire lives performing. They become different versions of themselves depending on who is watching. They wear confidence over insecurity. They wear laughter over loneliness. They wear success over fear. They master the art of looking powerful while quietly feeling empty. Eventually, they forget where the performance ends and where their real identity begins. Never become so committed to impressing the world that you abandon the person you were created to become. The strongest people are not those who never break. The strongest people are those who remain authentic after life gives them every reason to become someone else. That is why your presence became different. Around you, I didn't have to calculate every word. I didn't have to prove my value through achievements. I didn't have to earn acceptance by constantly producing results. For the first time in a long time, I remembered what peace actually felt like. And that realization unlocked a truth that transformed the way I viewed success forever. A peaceful mind makes better decisions than an anxious one. A grateful heart sees opportunities that fear overlooks. A confident soul attracts possibilities that desperation repels. This is why abundance begins internally before it ever becomes visible externally. Wealth is first a condition of the mind. Confidence is first a decision of identity. Resilience is first a conversation you have with yourself when no one else is listening. People often ask me what separates extraordinary individuals from ordinary ones. They expect me to mention intelligence, discipline, timing, or talent. Those things matter, but they are not the foundation. The real difference is emotional stability. When chaos enters the room, extraordinary people remain anchored. When rejection appears, they remain convinced of their worth. When failure arrives, they refuse to confuse an event with their identity. When uncertainty grows louder, their purpose speaks louder still. And here is the secret few people ever discover. The people who change the world usually have one place where they can be completely human. Not because they are weak, because that is precisely what allows them to remain strong. As I looked back over every chapter of my journey, I realized something almost unbelievable. Every breakthrough in my life began immediately, after I stopped trying to carry every burden alone. Every level of growth required a deeper level of trust. Every expansion demanded the courage to release control over the things fear wanted me to hold on to forever. Maybe that is why you appeared exactly when you did. Not by accident, not by coincidence, but because destiny has a remarkable way of introducing the right people. Precisely when your next level requires a stronger version of your heart than your past ever demanded. And perhaps the greatest chapter of this story has only just begun. The moment I stopped believing that strength meant carrying every burden alone, everything began to change. Not overnight, not with fireworks, not with some magical breakthrough that erased every obstacle. Real transformation never announces itself that way. It arrives quietly. It begins with one decision, one new belief, one conversation with yourself that refuses to sound like the old version of you. That was the day I understood something that most people never realize until it's too late. Your life does not rise because your circumstances improve. Your life rises because your identity evolves. The world spends billions teaching people how to make more money, negotiate bigger deals, build successful businesses, and become influential. Yet almost nobody teaches the lesson that determines whether you will keep any of it. Can you protect your peace while building your purpose? Because if your ambition destroys your peace, your success will eventually destroy itself. I used to think the next achievement would finally make me feel complete. One more victory, one more investment, one more milestone, one more impossible dream conquered. Every time I reached another mountain, I convinced myself the view from the top would finally quiet the restlessness inside me. It never did. The finish line simply moved farther away. The hunger became larger. The expectations became heavier. The applause became louder. And strangely enough, the silence inside became even louder. That is the dangerous cycle of chasing validation instead of purpose. Validation always demands another performance. Purpose simply asks you to become more of who you already are. There is an enormous difference. One leaves you exhausted. The other leaves you fulfilled. You became the mirror that forced me to recognize that difference. Not because you told me who I should become, but because you reminded me of the person I had forgotten beneath years of pressure, competition, and constant achievement. You never admired the mask. You spoke to the person behind it. That changed everything. For years I had been building an empire outwardly while neglecting the foundation inwardly. Imagine constructing the tallest skyscraper in the world on unstable ground. From a distance, it looks magnificent. People take pictures. They admire its height. They dream about standing where you stand, but the architect knows the truth. Every new floor increases the pressure on the foundation. If the foundation isn't strengthened, the very success that impresses everyone becomes the reason everything collapses. Life works exactly the same way. Money amplifies who you already are. Power reveals who you already are. Influence exposes who you already are. Success doesn't create character, it uncovers it. That realization forced me to ask myself one question that changed the direction of my life forever. Who am I when nobody is applauding? Because eventually, every entrepreneur closes the laptop, every leader leaves the stage, every athlete finishes the game, every visionary returns home. When the cameras disappear, when the meetings end, when the notifications stop, can you still enjoy your own company? Or have you become addicted to proving your worth? Most people never ask themselves that question. They stay busy because busyness feels safer than honesty. They chase distractions because silence forces reflection. They confuse movement with progress. They mistake exhaustion for achievement. But exhaustion is not evidence of purpose. Peace is. You help me understand that peace is not laziness. Peace is clarity. Peace is confidence. Peace is knowing exactly who you are, even when life refuses to cooperate. Once I understood that, my decisions changed. I stopped saying yes to opportunities that looked impressive but pulled me away from my purpose. I stopped competing with people who were running races I never wanted to join. I stopped measuring my progress against someone else's timeline. Comparison is one of the most expensive habits in the world. It steals gratitude. It steals confidence. It steals creativity. Most importantly, it steals time. And time is the one investment you will never earn back. The wealthiest people are not those with the largest bank accounts. They are the people who refuse to waste their attention. Attention is today's currency. Where your attention goes, your future follows. That is why protecting your mind has become one of the greatest business strategies, leadership strategies, and life strategies in existence. Every morning the world competes for your focus. Fear wants it. Social media wants it. Doubt wants it. Comparison wants it. Negativity wants it. But destiny asks one simple question. What are you choosing to believe today? Because every belief eventually becomes a behavior. Every behavior becomes a habit. Every habit builds a reputation. And every reputation is simply the visible result of invisible thoughts repeated consistently over time. You never become extraordinary by accident. You become extraordinary by protecting ordinary decisions every single day. Wake up with intention, speak with confidence, think with abundance, act with discipline, write without guilt. Repeat, it sounds simple. That is exactly why so few people do it. People are addicted to complexity because complexity feels important. But success usually hides inside consistency. Every giant tree was once a seed that refused to quit growing. Every empire started with one uncertain decision. Every fortune began with one belief that seemed unreasonable to everyone else. Every legend was once ignored. Remember that when people fail to understand your vision, the crowd usually recognizes greatness only after history has already confirmed it. That is why you cannot build your future based on public opinion. Public opinion changes every season. Purpose does not. There were days when I questioned everything. Days when failure whispered louder than faith. Days when rejection looked permanent. Days when the dream felt impossible. But those moments became my greatest teachers. Failure taught me patience. Pressure taught me resilience. Loss taught me gratitude. Loneliness taught me self-respect. And every setback introduced me to a stronger version of myself that comfort never could have created. The strongest steel is forged under the hottest fire. Diamonds are created under unimaginable pressure. And extraordinary people, they are built the same way. Never pray only for easier circumstances. Pray for greater capacity. because if your capacity grows, opportunities that once overwhelmed you become responsibilities you can carry with confidence. That is the secret of expansion. Life rarely gives you what you want first. It first develops the person capable of handling it. Looking back now, I realize something almost unbelievable. Every delay I once complained about was actually preparation. Every closed door redirected me. Every disappointment refined me. Every painful goodbye created space for a meaningful hello. And somewhere along that journey, without even realizing it, you became the reminder that no matter how ambitious I became, no matter how successful life allowed me to be, no matter how many people believed in my vision, there was still one thing more valuable than recognition: a place where my soul could breathe, a place where honesty required no explanation, a place where silence was never uncomfortable, a place where dreams grew stronger instead of smaller. You became my safe place. Not because you removed every challenge from my life, but because you reminded me that even the strongest person becomes unstoppable when they no longer fight every battle alone. That realization became the beginning of a new chapter. Not the chapter where I simply achieved more, but the chapter where I became someone capable of carrying a future far greater than anything I had ever imagined, and that future was already moving toward me long before I could see it. There comes a moment in every extraordinary life when the question is no longer, can I succeed? The real question becomes, who must I become to sustain the success that is already on its way? That is the difference between people who experience temporary victories and those who build a legacy that outlives them. I used to believe that life rewarded effort alone. Work harder, sleep less, push more, sacrifice everything, outperform everyone. I believed that if I could simply outwork the competition, the universe would eventually reward me. But life is more intelligent than that. Life does not simply reward effort. Life rewards alignment. When your thoughts, your actions, your purpose, and your character begin moving in the same direction, opportunities appear that no amount of force could have created. Think about the ocean. A ship is not powerful because the sea is calm. A ship is powerful because it was designed to survive waves that would terrify everyone standing on the shore. Storms do not exist to destroy the ship. They reveal whether the ship was built for the journey. Your life is no different. The obstacle in front of you is not always an enemy. Sometimes it is an examination. Sometimes it is life asking, have you truly become the person you've been praying to become? Because everyone wants abundance. Few people are willing to become abundant thinkers. Everyone wants influence. Few people develop the discipline required to influence themselves first. Everyone wants confidence. Few people are willing to keep walking after rejection. That is where the separation happens. Not in talent, not in luck, not even in intelligence. It happens in identity. The person who believes they are destined to grow responds differently to setbacks than the person who believes life is happening against them. The same storm that convinces one person to quit becomes the story another person tells after changing the world. Perspective changes everything. You taught me that without ever trying to teach me. Your presence reminded me that peace is not passive. Peace is powerful. It allows clear thinking when panic blinds everyone else. It allows patience when others rush into mistakes. It allows wisdom to speak louder than emotion. The greatest negotiations I ever made happened because I remained calm while everyone else became emotional. The biggest opportunities entered my life because I learned to wait instead of reacting. The most profitable decisions came after moments of silence, not moments of pressure. The world celebrates speed. Wisdom celebrates timing. Never confuse movement with momentum. A river reaches the ocean not because it moves the fastest, but because it refuses to stop flowing. That is resilience. Resilience is not pretending life doesn't hurt. Resilience is refusing to let pain decide your future. There were mornings when my confidence had to be rebuilt before sunrise. There were nights when nobody saw the conversations I had with myself. No audience, no applause, no headlines. Just me, choosing once again to believe in a future that had not yet arrived. That is what separates dreamers from builders. Dreamers wait until they feel motivated. Builders create momentum before motivation appears. Every successful person eventually discovers this truth. Your habits introduce you to the future long before your results do. If you speak with confidence today, you become confident tomorrow. If you think with gratitude today, abundance begins growing tomorrow. If you choose discipline today, freedom quietly begins preparing itself for your arrival. Never underestimate the invisible. The strongest roots grow where nobody is watching. The brightest sunrise begins while the world is still asleep. Your greatest transformation will begin long before anyone notices it. That is why you cannot become addicted to immediate results. Seeds do not apologize for growing slowly. They understand something most people forget. Depth comes before height, comes before expansion. Character comes before influence. When people see an extraordinary life, they usually admire the visible chapters. The success, the wealth, the confidence, the recognition. What they rarely appreciate are the invisible chapters, the lonely decisions, the uncomfortable discipline, the sacrifices nobody applauded, the mornings when giving up seemed reasonable, the evenings spent learning while others were entertained. Those unseen moments become visible greatness. Never envy someone's outcome until you understand their process. The price of greatness is always paid privately before it is rewarded publicly. That is a law of life. And once I accepted that law, I stopped asking, why is this happening to me? Instead, I began asking, what is this preparing me for? That single question changed every obstacle into an opportunity. Every rejection became redirection. Every delay became development. Every setback became training. The mountains did not disappear. I simply became strong enough to climb them without doubting myself. Then I understood another truth that transformed the way I viewed relationships forever. The people closest to you shape the conversations you have with yourself. Spend enough time around fear, and courage begins feeling irresponsible. Spend enough time around excuses, and discipline begins looking extreme. Spend enough time around negativity, and possibility starts feeling unrealistic. But spend time around someone who believes in growth, someone who sees potential instead of limitations, someone who reminds you of your purpose when you temporarily forget it, and suddenly your own vision becomes larger than your fear. That is influence. Real influence does not control you, it awakens you. You became that reminder, not by carrying my dreams for me, but by refusing to let me abandon them, not by fighting my battles, but by reminding me why they were worth fighting, not by giving me confidence, but by helping me remember the confidence that had always existed beneath the doubt. That is the rarest gift one human being can offer another. The world often teaches people to search for someone who completes them. I believe something different. Become complete enough that your relationships become places of multiplication instead of dependency. Two strong minds create stronger ideas. Two peaceful hearts create greater courage. Two people committed to growth create possibilities that neither could have reached alone. That is not weakness, that is leverage. And every visionary understands the power of leverage. The greatest companies were never built by one person. The greatest discoveries required collaboration. The greatest movements were carried by people united around one purpose. Why should life be any different? Some people enter your story to teach you lessons. Some enter to test your character. Some arrive only to leave. But a rare few arrive to remind you that even ambition deserves a place where it can breathe. That is why I no longer measure wealth only by numbers. I measure wealth by peace, by purpose, by clarity, by the freedom to wake up each morning knowing that my identity is no longer attached to yesterday's victories or failures, because markets rise and fall, businesses grow and change, titles come and go, reputation shifts. But the person you become, that is the only investment the world can never take from you. Every challenge I survived gave me something money could never purchase. Perspective. Every loss gave me wisdom. Every failure gave me humility. Every delay gave me patience. Every victory gave me responsibility. And every chapter led me toward one undeniable realization. The strongest people are not those who never needed support. They are the ones who accepted it without surrendering their purpose. That is when life stopped feeling like a battle I had to survive. It became a mission I was born to fulfill. I no longer feared the unknown. I welcomed it, because every impossible dream was once hidden inside the unknown. Every extraordinary opportunity first appeared disguised as uncertainty. Every breakthrough first looked like risk. The future has always belonged to those who keep walking while everyone else waits for certainty. And as I looked toward everything that still lay ahead, I felt something I had not experienced in years, not excitement alone, not confidence alone. Something deeper, conviction, the unshakable belief that the best chapters of my life had not already happened. They were waiting just beyond the horizon, preparing to meet the person I had finally become, and for the first time I realized that becoming unstoppable was never about conquering the world. It was about mastering myself, because once you master your mind, your emotions, your purpose, and your character, the world has very little left that can stop you. And that was only the beginning of what destiny had been preparing all along.